Yeah, great pleasure right now to welcome to the show today a woman who's written a really interesting book about an interesting person. If I said the name Len Lesser, you may not know who we're talking about, but if I said Uncle Leo, I think the face would come to you right away. She's written a book called Where's the Watch and Other Tales, a memoir from Seinfeld's Uncle Leo about the actor Len Lesser. We're joined by Tama Ryder today. And Tama, thanks for being with us. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Doug.
Yeah, it's fun to have a chance to talk to you. I read through the book last week and really enjoyed going through it. And I think, as I said, everybody kind of knows the face of Len Lesser. You may not have known his name over the years, but really a prolific actor. He's over 50 years on television and movies. One of those faces you never forget, even though you may not have known the name, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No. He got a kick out of that. He was mainly known as Seinfeld's Uncle Leo, but he didn't mind that at all.
I remember seeing Len, and before even Seinfeld came on. I mean, you sort of knew him. He was on. I remember I was a fan of Get Smart. He was on a lot of those, crime shows. He had that kind of face where he could play heavy. Although he did do some comedy, but I guess more known for kind of playing heavies before he did Seinfeld, right?
Yeah, he was. He always sort of thought that was more his part, the heavy or the villain, and that's actually what he thought he was even going to be on Seinfeld. but Jerry Seinfeld had actually seen him on That Girl with Marlo Thomas.
Oh yeah, sure.
And decided that I guess growing up watching him, as soon as he was casting an Uncle Leo, he thought of Len Lesser. But Len was surprised. He always thought even at some point that Uncle Leo would be killed off the show because all of his characters were always killed off over the years.
Before we get into some of the details about his life, how did you come to write about Len? Did you know him previously, or was this something you just wanted to do?
No, I didn't know him, and I wasn't even familiar with his work. I met him through another writer who had been working with Len and was not able to complete the project. They'd gotten started, and then this other writer said, I can't do it, he had something else. And he passed my name along to Len. And Len and I met, and we hit it off. I actually grew up without a television, so Len got a real kick out of that because I was really coming to his work and his life completely fresh. So we clicked over that, and he thought that was fun.
Yeah, I read that in the book there. So you really weren't brought up watching a lot of sitcoms or television, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, not
Are you better for it? You probably are.
Yeah, well, I did a lot of reading and some more stuff like that. But I'm still, because Len was in so many things, he was in hundreds of things. I'm still going through all of his films and his old TV shows, even now, and it's been a few years.
Talk a little bit about how you did the research on it. I mean, thanks talking to Len, he probably told you a lot of things. Maybe he had some old films, too. Is that how you got to see some of his old work? I know some of it's on YouTube now, but how did you get some of the old material?
Yeah, some Netflix and some, just Len would show me clips and things like that. But some things, like something like the Rockford Files, Len and I didn't really even discuss, and I just sort of, I was watching it last week, and I noticed, hey, there's Len. So it's kind of neat because now I'm starting to see things and watch these different shows, and suddenly, hey, there's Len again, and he was just in everything.
He had a quality. I mean, whenever he came on the screen, after a while you sort of recognize him as a character actor, but you sort of kind of drawn to him, and even if it was only a couple of line part, right? I mean, he had a quality about him, didn't he?
He really did, and he had it in real life, and he had it on screen. He had it to the point where he had worked with Clint Eastwood in Kelly's Heroes.
Oh, yeah.
And a few years later, Clint called him to be in The Outlaw Josie Wales for a small role, but he thought of Len because, again, they got along really well on set. And a lot of people just really enjoyed his work. Dustin Hoffman, was complimenting Len to the director, Walter Matthau, and even Barbara Streisand, who, as you read in the book, they had a bit of a rocky start.
Right.
But by the end of it, they were They were pretty close. He called her a surrogate Jewish mother.
He was really, I guess you could just say, the quintessential working actor. He never really had his own series, I don't think. I mean, he appeared on a lot of them, and Seinfeld, a lot of people thought he'd probably a regular, but he really wasn't. I think he only, like you mentioned, 15 episodes. I thought he did more than that, but he never really had a regular gig, did he?
Nope, he never did. And he was auditioning until the end of his life at 88 years old. He had hoped he was meant, and you'll read that in the book, he was meant to have a very big role in Everybody Loves Raymond, and ended up becoming a recurring character on that show as well. So a lot of things over the years were just missed opportunities for Len. He was meant to be cast in a major Alfred Hitchcock film, had a real fascinating meeting with Hitchcock, and last minute that didn't happen either. And there are many stories like that, and you read them throughout the book, where he just, but he kept at it, and he kept trying, and eventually, of course, at age 68, he got the part on Seinfeld.
Did he feel like he wasn't a successful actor? I mean, he seemed to always be working. I mean, did he do okay as far as making a living, or did he have tough times, in his adult life?
Yeah, he went through some tough times financially over the years, because it is tough to make it as an actor. As you know, right, he went to college. He actually had degrees in economics and government, graduated from college at 19, enlisted the day after Pearl Harbor, and served our country for 5 years. And after, he decided to pursue acting, and then he went on to graduate school and continued pursuing the craft. And then just kind of kept at it. But I think over the years, Len developed all these other kinds of side things, where he was volunteering with children, and he became a big advocate of adoption. He adopted both of his children. And he just was pursuing so many other things that ultimately, I think that later on in life, he measured his success by that, rather than perhaps being the star of a well-known TV show or a film. He was happy doing the roles that he was doing, and then pursuing other things. And he did a lot of stage work, which he did, again, until he was 88 years old.
Right. Yeah, you talk in the book, he bought a house, I guess, in the early 60s and lived there the rest of his life. So at least he's able to do that, and I guess that's a measure of success there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He bought a house in Burbank, California. It was a 2-bedroom house in 1962. And at some point when he was able to sell the house, and he could have sold it and bought a bigger house, he said, you know what, I'm happy in this house. I love the neighborhood. Actually, Ron Howard was a neighbor, and his parents, and he enjoyed watching Ronnie grow up, and he loved the neighborhood. He got involved in the public schools, volunteering. And he said, I don't want to leave, and he was there again until his passing.
You talk in the book when he went to audition for the Uncle Leo part on Seinfeld, and I guess he felt a little bit intimidated doing it, and he sort of ad-libbed that whole "Hello, Jerry" kind of thing, and that's kind of what got him the. I guess he may have gotten the part anyway, but that kind of gave him the character, didn't it? When he just ad-libbed that line, right?
Yeah, it did. He thought that was pretty fun, and I think again.
Well, Jerry, hello, I should say. That's how he said.
Yeah.
Jerry, hello. Yeah.
Jerry, hello. Yeah, he just did it on the spot. Again, he had done some comedy work, as you mentioned, in the 60s, and then throughout the 70s and the 80s, he was doing a lot of these heavy roles, and so he decided, okay, I'll give this a shot, and he came up with this hello. And he was sort of surprised, and I think he thought, again, that's what kind of got him the gig. But really, Jerry Seinfeld said to me, no, I had Len in mind the entire time for this role. Yes, he came to audition, but it was funny because Len saw it as, okay, but as soon as he did it, though, they said, well, that's terrific, and we're going to use that.
Well, that was the hook, the whole character. Everybody has an uncle or some kind of relative a little bit like Uncle Leo, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, and he got a kick out of it, too.
Was he, obviously I guess he wasn't, but he was a different kind of guy than the Uncle Leo character, right? Very kind of introspective and giving, like you said, he worked with children, so that character wasn't like him in real life, I guess, in any way, right?
Not at all. It's very funny because Len was a very understated guy. just a real and quiet in speaking with him and doing the interviews for the book. He was very soft-spoken and didn't have that big voice, and he was a big gesture kind of person. So that was really a put on, and that was something Jason Alexander said to me too. You know what? You know, Len is such a hip contemporary guy, not at all like Uncle Leo. So it was funny, but he was a good actor.
Really was, yeah. I mean, he's playing all those parts over the year. He had to do so many different types of roles, big or small, in movies. And like you said, he went on to play a part in Everybody Loves Raymond. You talk about it in the book about he could have had one of the leads, but they put him in as kind of an Uncle Leo character, although he's a friend of the father's, right? But a little similar to the way he kind of greeted Raymond. I guess that's kind of the offshoot of the Jerry Hello, right?
Exactly, yeah, it's Garvin. That was exactly the offshoot. It sort of became his thing, and so he figured, okay, it's working. People like it, and that's another show. Everybody Loves Raymond. You know, people would come up, hey, it's Garvin, hey, and he'd do it for them.
Oh yeah. Well, it seems like just reading through the book, I mean, again, a guy that, you know, if you met him on the street, he'd spend a couple of minutes talking to you if you said hello to him. He was that type of guy?
Absolutely, he was. He really was. As I mentioned, he was a soft-spoken guy, but he was willing to do the hello or the hey or whatever, and really just pass the time of day with his, whoever came up. And I had a lot of meals. He and Ed Asner, we'd go out together because Ed Asner was a close friend of Len's. They were friends for about 40 years, and Ed wrote the foreword for the book. And the two of them together, of course, were hilarious. And people, waiters and waitresses, anytime we were in a restaurant, would want to come over and talk to both of them, and they were happy to do that. And other patrons would come over, and they would be happy to spend several hours actually talking about their different roles. They enjoyed that, and Len really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you talk in the book about some of their stories together. So they had a good time as buddies, and Ed Asner, of course, a character in his own right, but that's a whole other book. Well, sadly, having that to end on a down note, but we lost Len earlier this year, unfortunately. But I mean, 88, I guess you can't complain too much. He overcame, I didn't know in the book, he wrote about it, overcame cancer a couple of times earlier in his life. That's amazing.
Yes, he did. He battled cancer 3 times before he even landed on the set of Seinfeld, and had pretty intense battles, and was able to overcome it. And he just he kept on going. He was someone who persevered.
Yeah, that's a great testament there. And, well, it's a really fun book to read. Anybody that, whether you're a Seinfeld fan or not, it's called Where's the Watch? Other Tales, a memoir from Seinfeld's Uncle Leo. We've been talking with Tama Ryder. And Tama, do you have a website? People get a hold of the book, or maybe send you a message, or where can I get the book?
Yes, absolutely. The book is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And it's also available through my website, and that's Tama Ryder, TamaRyder.com.
Great, and appreciate again sending the picture of you, a nice picture there with Jerry Stiller, who of course was on Seinfeld, holding the book. Was that at a book signing?
Yes, it was. It was in the city in New York, and Jerry Stiller was actually someone who had convinced Len to write that book. Which was great that he listened to Jerry's advice.
Yeah, there's another book there on Jerry Stiller. But
all these guys.
Oh, great characters. Well, appreciate you taking a few minutes. Hang on the line if you will. We've been talking with Tama Ryder, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Doug.